All right, what's up, everybody? So, we're gonna watch a workout from last week that I did. This is my day one workout. So I start everything with dynamic stretching, a little bit of toe touches, side bends, leg swings, modified cat-cows, and rocking deep lunges to get my lower body mobilized and ready for the workout. I always start off with dynamic stretching as opposed to static stretching because there's studies showing that static stretching actually can impede your strength for the day and put you more at risk of injury even, especially if it's harder static stretching. So don't stretch too much before a workout, static stretching, just because it could be risky for you. So this is just dynamic stretching, getting my body warmed up and ready for the workout, mobilized, body temperature up a little bit, start sweating a little bit. So here's some rocking deep lunges here, and then I'm moving on to these neutral grip dumbbell deadlifts. And this is my first exercise of the day. Just warming up with the dumbbells right now. After I warm up with the dumbbells, I move into using the resistance bands around my neck and upper back. And that just adds a little more tension at the top of the movement. So this is set one for the day, and I have 90-pound dumbbells, so 180 plus 100 pounds in bands at the top. So it's 280 at lockout, which really is nothing, but it's still adding more weight, and given the situation with lockdown right now, this is the best that I could do. So I'm just repping these out for sets of 10. I've noticed that these bands, lockout is the strongest part for me actually, so it definitely makes lockout more difficult, but because it's a more powerful part of the movement for me, I feel it a lot more in the mid-range of the movement. So I feel that slowdown really happen above the knee as opposed to where I normally would feel it. It's still a movement that's a little harder off the ground overall, just because of the nature of the deadlift in general, especially because these are deficit pulls, with the dumbbells being smaller. And these dumbbells do catch on the bands a little bit, which is a little distracting at times, but you gotta work with what you got right now. So that was set two, and set three I didn't get to film, but there's another set of 10 there. Set four here, I did an AMRAP, so I got 13 reps on this set. And looking at this footage now, it feels like I could have pushed all these sets a little more, but it's still a lot more difficult than it looks, and I like to leave a little more room for the next week to progress, so this is still a PR for me for this movement for now. Yeah, and these last couple reps here, I was really feeling it. Just breathing hard, trying to really push it. So moving in after that, I moved on to weighted sissy squats here. So just warming up. These are a newer movement that I've been doing since quarantine started, and just trying to get a little more work on my quads here. Legs are definitely the hardest thing to train right now for me. So these are a little hard to balance for sure, and especially adding weight makes them a little harder. So I'm really focusing on trying to stay as tight as I can. So keeping my glutes engaged, pushing forward at the knees, obviously, trying to come down pretty far. Sometimes I'll go off balance a little bit, and I'll either just try to repeat the rep or just keep moving along. Even if I can only get like halfway down, I'll usually count it as a rep, just because for the most part they're pretty low. Like that one wasn't that great. But these, you really feel them in your quads for sure, and if your knees aren't 100% healthy, you might have some pressure there, and they may feel a little uncomfortable. But for me, they feel good overall. Some days I'll notice a little bit of tightness afterwards here and there, but that's pretty rare. So this is a 20-pound dumbbell for sets of 12 for my working sets here. And these are definitely starting to feel pretty heavy for me. It's kind of an exercise that feels similar to a leg extension, where you're really putting a lot of pressure on your quads. That's like the main part of the movement here. Definitely feel it a little bit in my glutes though. So just struggling to get out a couple more here. This is set number 3 here. So another set of 20. Just trying to focus on staying tight and controlling the eccentric all the way down so I don't completely bail out. So these and pistol squats have really been my main quad movements, and throwing in some banded squats here and there too. But I feel like these are the best thing you could possibly do with body weight or added weight for your quads. And I'm just trying to make use of it. I'm only doing it 1 day a week right now, but it's more than enough right now for just a little bit of extra stimulus. And this was my last set for the day. I moved up to 25 pounds because, I wanted to go for that PR. So it definitely felt hard, but I feel like there was a little more there. Maybe next week I could push it to 25 for all sets, but they take a lot of control on the way down, so these sets take a long time. And actually, I feel like doing these barefoot helps a little more with balance, but I just went with socks on this day, and I mean, it's a little more slippery, but it gets the job done still. Like there was an example where I lost some balance. Okay, so moving on to weighted closer stance, 3-inch deficit push-ups here. So I usually do 1 day of closer stance push-ups and one with wider stance. And I noticed the closer stance definitely, you feel it more in your triceps. It's a little more of a difficult movement. And the wider stance day, I feel a little more in my pecs and my shoulders, which is what I want. So incorporating both of these in the week, I notice I really feel some improvement overall with the push-ups. And adding the 3-inch deficit, it just makes the movement a little harder. You can go down a little further, similar to a bench press, whereas with a normal push-up, you're stuck at just going down to as low as your chest. So you get a little more of a range of motion here. More range of motion can mean more hypertrophy over time. So just trying to make use of that. And also, I can't add that much more weight with this movement in general, just because, so 90 pounds is the maximum that I could use my dumbbells, obviously. And it gets more and more difficult with lower reps, and I am incorporating some lower reps. So I can't go too much heavier, so adding that deficit definitely helps make it a little harder. And I risk ripping my backpack every time I put these things in there because they're not made for, 45 to 90 pounds. I already tore one backpack doing this, so try not to tear another one. So this was set number 3 now. I got 15 on my first 2 sets. Set 3 here, I got 13, and I just capped it at 3 sets for the day there. So then I'm moving on to my 4th exercise here, which is seated Arnold press. And I like these as more of an accessory movement for my shoulders, as opposed to a main movement. You're forced to keeping the weight a little lighter. So I was working with 45 pounds here for my first set. Sometimes I'll go a little bit lighter than this just because it's a movement that feels better overall with lighter weight, I think, and higher reps. So as you can see, I knocked the weight down here by 5 pounds. The 45s felt a little too heavy for me, and I'm trying to aim for more of like upwards of 12 to 15 reps ideally. I felt a little weaker on this day for sure because I'm cutting, so my reps definitely went down a little bit, but I'm still happy with this. And shoulders have always been a weak part for me. I feel like that's just like the natty struggle. Shoulders are just so hard to develop as a natural. So I'm trying to incorporate more shoulder movements in general throughout my week, just more volume. And I noticed that it's something that I've been able to bring up a little bit over the past few years. I've been lifting for a little more than 10 years now, so progress is slow, obviously. But one key, I think, is focusing on heavy pressing. So I'd say twice a week, focus on heavy overhead pressing to bring up your shoulders. Somewhere between the 3 to 8 rep range, I'd do a heavier day and a lighter day. And focus on adding in some accessory movements for shoulders too, like lateral raises and upright rows, just to hit more of the medial delt and rear delt. Yeah, I'd also throw in some rear delt flies for rear delt as well. So the more volume you can throw at your shoulders, the better. And over time, you'll notice a little more progress. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.